I am in a generation that our parents seem to hate, and our grandparents don't really understand us. You see, I'm a millennial. Actually, I'm a millennial and a 90s baby. So I can say I'm a very unique person. And I say we're unique because in Kenya, we grew up in an environment that saw activism. We were lucky enough to experience Wangari Maathai. We were lucky enough to experience environmental issues that hit core and hit home fast. But recently, there has been a diminish in what we say and how loud we are about the environment. We seem to have an idea, and usually we say, you know what, it's not a priority, or it's okay, they'll handle it. My question is, when did we become complacent, and why are we so complacent? To understand the why, we need to understand how it looked like for us growing up. You see, growing up in the 2000s, there were a number of retail malls and malls all alike. Actually, I could say them with one hand, and I wouldn't finish all the fingers on my hand, in the whole country. Right now, you only need to walk 5 kilometers, and there are around 5 or 10 malls within a given area. And it's an amazing thing. It only shows that our economy is growing. But with our economy growing, we're also becoming a consumer nation. We're becoming a nation that needs more and wants more. Fast economy, fast fashion, fast food. If it's something that we can have it like this and instantly, we want it. The problem is, with an economy that is very consumer-oriented, it means there has to be supply and demand. It's a very easy concept. The problem with supply and demand, it means that you're putting pressure on natural resources. Natural resources that right now we don't have. And the ones that we do, we're putting exceedingly amount of pressure on it. Like every Kenyan and African child, I grew up with stories from my mother and my grandparents on how they walked to school without shoes, or how they didn't have electricity. The story that I remember to this day is how they used to wake up in the morning and go to the small river that is just next to our house in our country farm. And they used to fetch water for the day. And if they didn't, that was it. There was no water for that day. Those stories were stories to me. I was 10, born in a city, lived in a city. I had taps. I could not understand fetching water. I was naive, really naive. And then a couple years passed, drought hit Nairobi. And I found myself in the same situation, but a different version of it. You see, we had taps in our bathroom, in the guest bathroom, in the kitchen, but they didn't have water. And if water did flow, it was on a specific day for a couple of hours. I remember waking up at 2 a.m. with my brothers to fetch water. And it was an interesting and fun thing for a 12-year-old me, because it's 2 a.m. Who gets to play with water at 2 a.m. in the morning? If there were buckets that needed to be filled, we filled them. If there were bottles, plastic bottles, we filled them. Jerry cans, we filled them. And that wasn't specific to only us, but it was for everyone in the city. Worse still if you lived outside a city or a town, because there wasn't any water rationing. There was no water. These were the images that we saw. People were dying. Livestock was dying. Agriculture or your crops were dying. This was the first point and the first lesson that I learned with nature. How you take care of nature determines whether it's a foe or a friend to you. How you take care of it determines the consequences that you have to face later on. Then, a couple of years later, I entered university. I had a chance and a privilege to be in a youth leadership organization. And we came up with an initiative to have a slum cleanup. And we did. We woke up early in that morning, we went to the slum, we picked up the plastic bottles, we separated and segregated everything, and then afterwards, in the afternoon, we had a civic education forum where we educated them on the benefits of environmental education and environmental preservation. We also told them how they can effectively segregate their waste and have a waste management system that works for them, for their specific needs. And after a long days of work, we went home. We're like, it's good, we did it, yay! 2 weeks later, we decided to go and do a follow-up. And what we saw was disheartening. All the plastic waste, all the refuse was back. We couldn't understand. We had spent a day trying to change the lives of these people and trying to change the way they looked at solid waste. And in the midst of us being sad and angry and emotional, we had a dialogue. We remembered we were here for a reason, so we had a dialogue with them. And we talked to them. How many here know where the plastic waste or where the waste that they produce at home goes after it's collected? By a show of hands. How many? A couple. So the waste that you see, or the waste that we saw there, was a result of garbage disposal companies that were too lazy to reach the destination of a legal landfill and just decided to cut costs and take the shortcut because it's easy. We can all do it. And in the midst of all this, we all said there needs to be a revolution. There needs to be change. Something needs to happen. We are tired. We can't keep on doing this all over again. And last year, our prayers were answered. Or rather, our prayers seemed to have been answered. Kenya became this brave country. We decided to ban plastic waste, and we cheered on. We wore that badge with pride and honor. We became a part of an elite group with Bangladesh, Morocco, Rwanda, China. We were so happy. The hardest hit industry was actually the packaging industry. They had to be innovative, and they had to be proactive in their solutions. And they did. We got our reusable bags, our woven bags. But if this was war, we have won a battle, but are on a verge of losing the war. Reason? We concentrated so much on plastic bags, we've seemed to have forgotten about plastic bottles, straws, containers, cutlery, takeaway cups. All these things that you use in your daily routine are still plastic. The harm that they cause to marine life is still the same. The increase in green emission gases is still the same. The amount of the time it takes or the rate of decomposition is still the same. I like facts. So, a fun fact. If you consume 1 liter of bottle of water a day for 365 days, you could be consuming 10,000 microplastics in your body. You cost the earth 6 liters of water just to produce that 1 liter bottle. It takes the earth 450 years just to decompose. With all that being said, how do we stand? How do we change? How do we look at the past and appreciate the lessons? How do we acknowledge our present and shatter to our future? Well, one is by being informed. You remember that old cliche that we used to have that information is key? Actually, it is, sorry to say. And in a world of fake news right now, information is not only key, it's vital. How many of you right now know that you have a right to a clean environment as a Kenyan citizen? It's a provision in the Kenyan Constitution. You have a right to a clean and healthy environment, no matter whether you are a resident or a citizen of Kenya. That encompasses the water quality that you take, the wastewater and how it is treated, how your solid waste is managed, and also how the land around you is managed. The second one is by responsible production and consumption. And I know some of you are wondering, like, what are those words, and how can I do that? Well, it's by something each and everyone here has: your wallet. What you choose to buy into, the brands, the products. By choosing to buy into companies that are nonchalant about environment, that don't care about the future that you have, you're choosing to buy into the future that there's a lack of resources. You're choosing to buy into climate change. It's as simple as choosing an alternative. You don't need a plastic water bottle. They're reusable water bottles. You don't need a takeaway cup. Just carry your own mug. Or better yet, invest in a carry-on mug. You don't need a straw. You can say no to a straw. Or better yet, invest in a reusable straw. And that's at a personal level. What about when I go to the office? Well, you can use less paper. You don't have to print each and every report that comes out. You don't need 15,000 or 15 different copies of the same thing. There's technology. You can just use email. The third thing is be a sustainable champion. In your workplaces, wherever you are, be a champion. Decide to speak out and make changes in your life that have to do with the environment. Because if you sit down and say that I do not care, or it is not a priority for you right now, it will make you a priority. Because the earth always has a way. And lastly, take a stand. Just simply take a stand. It's no more business as usual. It's no more buying into companies that compromise our future. It's no more saying yes to people and individuals that don't understand the value of the earth that we have right now. Because if we don't take care, and if we don't take a stand, we won't have a future, let alone our children's future, to buy into. So take a stand. Let's take an eco stand. Thank you.